Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Headkrack's Hip Hop Spot. Is the man, the myth, the legend, the icon, one half of one of the greatest duos hip hop ever presented to us, the one and only Havoc from Mobb Deep, man. Peace and love, my brother.
Peace and love.
Yo, first and foremost, I gotta commend you on your strength, your resilience,
Thank you,
and your creativity to just continue to bang the drum no matter what was going on. Even before the passing of your partner, man, like, you've been one of the hardest working dudes in hip hop who I feel like never really gets the props he deserves. Like, people respect it, but like, you know, when I see genius level things at work, man, I like to just, you know, like, you remember the Lion King when he picked Simba up? Like, it's like, yo, do you realize all the stuff my man's carrying right now?
Right. I mean, you know, just to be acknowledged, you know what I'm saying, off top feels good, you know what I'm saying? I wear the underrated crown with like a badge of honor, you know what I mean? It's all good to be even rated at all, you know what I mean? Some people out there, some cats is not even rated at all that should be rated, you know what I mean? That are overlooked. So it's all good, you know what I'm saying? I just take it with a grain of salt because it's all perspective.
Okay. Now, every superhero has an origin story. Let's go back. Like, who was Havoc in middle school?
Havoc in middle school was a dude that was doing all the schoolwork, getting good grades, you know what I mean? Very artistic, you know, a little bit of mischief, you know, but definitely had his head on straight.
Got you. And for those that don't know the history between you and Prodigy, y'all knew each other. Y'all was like in the same neighborhood, right?
Yeah, we met each other in high school,
okay.
Actually, you know what I'm saying? So I met him a little bit later on in middle school or whatever, but, you know, we clicked immediately.
And you always knew that you wanted to be on the production side as well as the rhyme side, or you just, like, which one came first?
I mean, rhyming came first off top because, you know what I mean, I ain't have no equipment to, you know, make music when I first started spitting. So production really didn't come to mind, but I always was artistic, you know what I mean? So I knew if I were to get my hands on some equipment because I always was inquisitive about everything from the lyrics to the music and how it was being made. But initially, I started off as an MC.
Now, was Havoc always the name you went with? Was that your first joint?
You know, I kind of went by my real name at first when I was an MC. You know, it was just Keywan, you know what I'm saying? MC Keywan or whatever. But, you know, I had a mentor back in the hood, you know what I mean, that kind of mentored me, and he gave me the name Havoc.
Got you. So, like, was it Keywan and 3 other stops before we got to Havoc? Because, like, you know, sometimes you got to kick things around for a few weeks to figure out what sounds right.
Right. Nah, it was immediately from Keywan to Havoc. I didn't play around with too many different names.
Yeah. So the first rhyme you write, when you pick up the pen, what motivated you to do it?
I mean, you know what motivated me to pick up the pen was just watching Music Video Box, seeing all the videos that was going on and saying to myself, I was like, damn, like, I could do that, you know what I mean? And I just started imitating, you know what I'm saying, MCs at that time, like, you know, back in 87, whatever it was, you know, and just started writing.
Now, were you a battler, or were you more like just a poetry, you know, just write it on the side kind of thing?
I definitely wasn't a battler, but I wasn't afraid to battle, you know what I'm saying? I've been in a couple of battles, but I just was more of a writer, you know what I mean? I wasn't really on the battle end of things, and, you know, I just was into, like, writing about my life story and, you know, everything that was around me, or, you know, things that was going on around me.
Now, New York, especially when you look at New York in the 90s, I mean, just New York, period. Like, I hear so many stories about artists who went to school with other people. It's like, yeah, you know, Kane was in the class, you know, before me and stuff like that. Who else was in your school, your high school, around the time when you was going? Did anybody else come out that, like, went on to do anything big?
I mean, the only person that I could think of is Prodigy, you know what I mean? There wasn't really any other MCs in the High School of Art and Design when I was there at the time. But there was a few people that went on to become journalists and, you know, things of that nature. But I did hear that, you know, Onyx was in art design, and Kwame was in there. I think Sticky Fingers or one of them was inside of art design. But there was a few people that went through art design, but not when I was there.
So what was the bonding thing that brought you and Prodigy together? Was, you know...
I would say just our passion for the music that, you know, we wanted to make it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we both had that, like, yo, we gonna make it. So that's what really brought us together and made us have a tight bond, because we didn't see ourselves not making it.
Got you. Like, who says what's up to who first? Like, you know.
Oh, when we first met?
Yeah, what was like the icebreaker?
Man, I mean, we had mutual friends, you know what I mean? One in particular, my homeboy Black from the Bronx, he went to school with us. He introduced us, so, I mean, I guess we said what's up to each other at the same time, kind of, and we kind of knew of each other indirectly, but didn't know of each other, but it was like a mutual.
Now, is this the same Black that gets referenced in a couple songs like Survival of the Fittest, or is that a different Black?
Oh, well, sometimes when we reference Black, or I think P reference Black, sometimes he could be talking about my brother, Killer Black.
Killer Black, yeah.
Or he could be talking about Black from the Bronx. It depends on what song it is.
Got you. So, y'all meet up in high school, debut album, Juvenile Hell.
Mm-hmm.
Hit her from the back, peer pressure.
Yeah.
Ahead of his time, considering what other kids that were coming out rhyming, you know, the things you were rhyming about was different than what the youngsters was doing.
Right.
It was different than what Criss Cross was doing. It was different than what Chi Ali was doing.
Right.
Ooh, is that way? Turn it down. Like, you know, you know, it really pushed. You know, it really put a spotlight on what people in the inner city were going through, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did y'all know that you know the material was going to be reviewed in such a I mean, there was some people who hated it because it was so aggressive, but there was some people who was like, yo, that's actually what's going on.
You know, we just was like doing us, you know what I mean? Just trying to make what we felt was, you know, what we was feeling at the time. We didn't really, wasn't really caring what people felt, because we did get a lot of rejection, you know what I mean, towards the music that we was putting out at that time. But it only made us hungrier, you know what I mean? So we was good.
So I imagine, you know, like back in the days, like when people like look at the, you know, the coveted idea of a record deal, they, you know, you assume that you sign your deal, they write you a big check, like, you know, Ed McMahon used to bring to your crib, and your life changes from there.
Right.
When you drop this album, I imagine you still living like in the hood, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, the check that they gave us, looking back on it now, it was pennies, you know what I mean? But it was like, what, 60 to 80 grand, you know what I mean, for 16-year-old kids. So we was feeling ourselves, you know what I mean? But it wasn't enough money to buy your way out the hood, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we was still in the hood, and we was just chilling, you know what I'm saying, enjoying, you know, that little bit of success that we had with signing a deal with a label and all of that. But we quickly learned that, you know, that money was nothing. You know what I mean?
So when you get 80 grand, you split it 2 ways?
Yeah, we got to split that 2 ways. Then you got to pay your manager. Then you got to pay your taxes off of that. So, you know, 60, 80 grand ain't 60, 80 grand. You know what I mean?
So that would chop down, what, like 20, 25?
Yeah, something like that.
So what do you do with $25,000? Is this...
You buy mad clothes, mad sneakers. You know what I'm saying? You taking your friends out. You know what I mean? Y'all just doing a lot of fuckery. You know what I mean?
What was your fashion vice at the time? Like, what were you into?
I was simple. You know what I'm saying? I was into you know, Army jackets, Army certified jackets, Timbs. You know what I mean? Army suits. I was you know, maybe a leather here and there, but I just kept it all the way hood all the time. Like, you know, I wasn't really trying to be all, you know, fashion statement out. I was just trying to be as hood as I could be.
Now, you guys didn't waste no time, seemingly, because it seems like right after I started hearing peer pressure a lot on the radio and even seeing, like, you know, Hit Her From the Back on, like, the Video Music Box, Flex starts hitting the original version of Shook Ones.
Right.
And that shit was dog. Like,
yeah.
I thought it could get no better than that. And then you drop Shook One's Part 2.
Right.
So when you guys go in to start working on your second album, what's driving you guys at this point? What's going on in your life?
At that point in our life, we was like, okay, we just dropped Juvenile Hell. It wasn't received very well. You know what I mean? It was like back to the drawing boards, back against the wall. You know what I mean? You got to go back to the hood, and, like, you know, as a non-success. So, I mean, it just made us hungrier. It made us more focused. And we knew that it was like now or never. So we just was like, man, fuck it. We gonna do like what we gotta do. We let a couple of cats produce, you know what I'm saying, that Juvenile Hell album. And this time I was like, nah, you know what I'm saying, we gonna do all the production. You know
Like, you produced every song?
I didn't produce every song, but I produced the majority of the album. I would say about 90%, you know what I'm saying, 80%, something like that. Q-Tip came in, you know what I mean, he offered his expertise. You know, we was a huge fan of Tropical Quest. You know, he looked out for me, came in there, gave me a couple of pointers, couple of tips, produced, you know, a few songs, co-produced a few songs, and, you know, the infamous album was born.
Man. And, you know, and it still holds up well. You know, some albums you think about when you was like riding around, rocking out to them as a kid. Yeah. You listen to them now, they'd be like, that's cool, but damn, like sonically, that thing is, the legs are even stronger on it now than it was back then, which is, you know, you can't really say that about a lot of releases.
Right. I mean, you know, that just goes to show how serious and how much we grew from the first album. You know what I mean? We know that we had to like really make a statement.
It was almost like, you know, I compared a lot to how drastically different the second Fugees album was.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You see the potential where this can go.
Exactly.
And then by the time he dropped that second album, it was ball game. Cut off the lights.
Diamond, like.
For real. Like, what was your personal favorite off that album? I mean, I know a lot of times people maybe gravitate towards the singles and whatnot. Was there something that wasn't a single that was your personal favorite joint on the album?
I would have to say Temperatures Rising. You know what I mean? Only because we was really talking about a situation where my brother was on the run for a body. Like, you know what I mean? And it came across really authentic because it was a true story.
Yeah. Now, is he still locked up?
Oh, nah, my brother, he passed away back in the 90s.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he's been long gone.
Gotcha, man. Sorry to hear that. I think I knew that. Just so much time went by. But so first album's out, you guys are still around the way. Do people assume that you have more than you have? And, you know, like, you know, crab mentality. A lot of times people want to bring people down.
Right.
Like, you know, were people trying to, like, you know, make robbery attempts on you guys and all that back then?
Nah, you know what I'm saying? Surprisingly, I guess, you know, I grew up with respect, you know what I'm saying? People, you know, people knew who I was, you know what I mean? I wasn't a troublemaker. You know, I wasn't a follower either, you know what I mean? And I was raised in Queensbridge, so I had respect amongst, you know, the gangsters, the hustlers, and whatever have you. And plus, my brother would have blew your fucking head off anyway.
It's always good to have that type of person in your corner.
Yeah, so, yeah, you know what I mean? So I wasn't worried about, you know, ever trying to get robbed. And outside of the hood, you know, I just move different anyway, you know what I mean? I'm not out here slipping, you know what I mean? And, you know, just somewhere where I shouldn't be, you know, thinking that it's all sweet. So I just move different, so I never had that problem.
Got you. And your parents, do you live with both your mom and your dad growing up?
Back in the days, yeah.
So do you let them hear the music as you're making it, or are they hearing about it secondhand?
Nah,
you know, their son is this guy who's like, you know, in one of the hottest groups in New York.
Nah, they was hearing it while I was making it, especially my mom's. And she wasn't feeling it. She was like, turn that devil music off and this, that, and the third. But I used to be like, yo, this is the, you know, music that's going to pay your bills in the future.
And look at you now, right?
And it's definitely paying our bills in the future.
So, you first album's out. When do you get the drum machine? What do you get? What's the first beat you made?
The first beat that I made when we first got our equipment was Shook Ones Part 1.
Really?
Yeah. That was the first beat that I made. You know, P Grandma's bought the equipment. I went to P's crib. P was like, look what we got. I was like, oh shit. He already was making some kind of beat he was making, and I was just like, yo, let me try it. And then, you know, I was just messing with it, and then I just made Shook Ones Part 1. Word.
So the first time you hear your records on the radio, are you hearing it real time? Does somebody give you heads up like, yo, tonight's the night they're gonna hit it?
Yeah, I didn't even know if it was gonna get played or not, but I heard it in real time, and I just felt like, I don't know, it was a crazy feeling, like to hear, yourself on the radio. It's just like back then, being young, just enough to make you just like a tear come to your eye. Like, oh, you know, it's a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being an artist and you hearing your music on the radio for the first time. You know, any artist to tell you. You know
like, who's around you when this happens?
just my homies. We's outside, and you know, we always had the little radio with us, and we would have it on the radio station, and we like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? Crazy.